awesome weather today. It looks like it'll stay sunny for the remainder of the day. No crazy hail or anything. And what's going on today? I guess this was kind of interesting at first. Is this going to mean everyone's gonna say restrict hobbyist drones even more? Because here, this one says, a Chinese drone for hobbyists plays a crucial role in the Russia-Ukraine war. So in this article, they're expressing how a lot of, I guess, countries like Russia, for example, are already relying on things such as DJI commercial drones, saying they're $2,000 or less, they're really easy to fly, easy to obtain. And it says here, before this war, people mostly use them to play around with things for experimental purpose, like, can I drop a water bottle? You see these videos on YouTube, said Fane Greenwood, a researcher based in Boston. She's documenting drone use in Ukraine based largely on videos that appear on social media, saying here the Ukrainians and the Russians too have figured out ways to modify these devices they purchased online to make more and more creative ways to drop explosives from these small consumer drones, she said. So that then gets into the discussion on how some people are saying, hey, companies like DJI, for example, stop selling your drones to this and that country. But like it says here, DJI announced in April 2022 that it would stop selling drones to Ukraine or Russia because they were not intended to be used for military activities. And this quote actually gets me to think in terms of the statement from DJI. It says, we have seen reports that show how our products are being transported to Russia and Ukraine from other countries where they can be bought off the shelf. The statement added, like any consumer electronics company with products sold at many different electronic stores, we cannot influence how all our products are being used once they leave our control. So essentially, it's one of those things kind of like I could just say buy their drone, hundreds of them, and then set up my own shop and then resell it to someone else. So it's true in that regards where you can't control everything in that sense. Now the reason why that got me to think is because obviously there's a chance where in this article people will say, well, look how dangerous a consumer drone is. Now you have to regulate it more. Whereas in this case, even a company admits they can't control everything. What happens afterwards, correct? Even I would agree. So in that sense, if you're a company, let's just say, I don't know, DJI saying, you have to do this and that, restrict people, like for example, their self-imposed geofence, wouldn't that be the same thing here where if you agree that's a good way to do things, then you will agree here because there's still a quote chance you're gonna sell your drones and products to a terrorist or something like that. Now we're gonna invent some kind of rule and a tax on the companies where you have to ship all your products to a government-controlled agency and they will basically be the last step in shipping out your product to make sure it's not gonna get into the hands of the wrong people. Wouldn't you say like there? What? That's crazy, like in terms of a company and all that. So it's funny to think about there where when it comes to, I guess, restricting other people, that doesn't affect you specifically in that sense. It's okay, it makes sense, it's for quote safety and all that. But when it comes to themselves in that situation, then I guarantee the person will say, what, that makes no sense. We can't control what everybody does, so what's the point of this? It's just kind of interesting again how that turns out all the time, huh? It's okay when it's other people, but when it comes to yourself, then all of a sudden it changes. And it basically continues just talking about how people again are finding ways to modify their commercial drones to have things like weapons, bombs, whatever you want to call it, something deadly. I really don't see how this is any different than anything else. For example, all those stories, quote, terrorists using things, for example, like pressure cookers to create a sort of bomb or something, like they put a bunch of sharp objects in there and then obviously when they activate it, it blows up and then you have all these deadly stuff flying around, hurting people and all that. I mean, everyone's gonna find a way to use it in a bad way if that's their intention anyways. It's more about how you're gonna deal with the situation afterwards. Although about, I guess, drones and wars, how about this one? This one says, Russia is angry at downing of Ukrainian drone over their homes. Residents of the small Russian town of Kireyevsk expressed shock and anger on Monday that an alleged Ukrainian drone had been downed over their houses, bringing down roofs and ceilings and putting their lives in danger. It's absolutely outrageous to shoot it down over a residential area. There's a field just 500 meters from here. They could have shot it down over there. Why over our houses? People were wounded, said Kireyevsk resident Elena, 35, who like some others declined to give her surname. What if the children had been at home? They would have been killed. Nobody gave it a thought. It was allowed to happen, they just don't care. I have no other explanation. People usually say that. Let's just say if for recreational drones, people are like, oh, I'm just gonna shoot this down and so forth. That's one thing that people bring up. You think that's a good idea, shooting that, for example, where one thing, the bullet's gonna have to land somewhere, or at the same time, it's gonna fall somewhere as well. Who knows if you would potentially hurt someone because of like hysteria and all that. I don't think I see the actual drone in these reports. And it says emergency services said on Sunday there was a large blast crater. The state-run news agency TASS quoted local officials on Sunday as saying 3 people had been hurt, none seriously. We were used to seeing these things online, but now we felt it ourselves. Now we know how it is, said Yuri Ovchimnikov, who was home with his wife at the moment of the impact. The whole house shook. Apparently this person had, I guess, an aviation background too. It says, I graduated from an aviation academy. My specialization was aircraft control systems, so I know how it works. Why didn't they shoot it down? I wonder. They were caught napping and they should be honest about it. I think he's implying why didn't they shoot it down before, I guess? Is that what he's trying to say? Because other people are arguing, why did you shoot it down like in the residential area? Alright, see you guys later.